Good afternoon, almost. Good late morning to some of you who are watching us through a live stream. Good Monday to you. Oh, hang on, my DJ is trying to kick things back into gear. All right. My name is Bill, and today I wanted to welcome you to this episode of Serving Veterans Who Served Us. And as my co-host is mobile today, regardless, let's get his fan club to welcome him into the studio. So here we go. Check out that fan club. Yeah. Jason's got a lot of fans throughout the US. So with all of that said, let's bring him into the conversation.
I like that.
How do you like that, Jason?
Yeah.
Especially that last guy, right?
The guy with the hat?
Yeah.
Yep. It looks like somebody who might show up to a party at my house.
There you go. So, good Monday to you. From what we can all tell, you're mobile, doing your thing. We just talked about wrapping up appointment meeting and appraisal on a property that you're selling for a seller, correct?
Yeah, we talked about it's the property we talked about last time, the one in Joliet, newer construction. Yes. A veteran is selling, or not a veteran, sorry, he's active duty. Marine who's selling it. Him and his family have to go back to California. So we had on the market, I think we were under contract in 3 or 4 days. So one open house, and then, I told you it would go quick. So, and then, so we did, the appraiser came today, so I had to let him in and walk him through the house.
Okay. So using that as a great recent data point, Jason, is the market still crazy? Is it trying to get back to a balanced market? What can you share with all of us?
Yeah, we're still seeing, like, just generally for Chicagoland. I'm sorry, I like that word, Chicagoland. A lot of people don't, but that's what I call Chicago area. Generally low inventory. So even though the rates are high, or higher than what we've seen over the past few years, if you have somebody who is looking to sell a property, or if you're thinking about selling, it's probably a great time to get it on the market because there's so little for people out there. And what comes on the market that's good is getting snapped up pretty fast.
I'm right there with you. Locally around me in the west suburbs, I do see some thawing of the inventory, meaning I do see some pickup of new properties coming onto the market. But just like you touched upon, Jason, if it's a good to great property, it goes into escrow, goes under contract within like 24 hours. I've seen that firsthand myself. Yeah. So still a seller's market. So all of you watching, listening to this episode, if you're thinking about selling, a great time to do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're gonna get full price offers really quick. So if you don't want a lot of people traipsing through your house for weeks at a time, and you want to get a full price offer, this is probably a good time to do it.
And then lean on the judgment, the wisdom, the trust of your real estate broker to help you select the right offer amongst that pack, right?
Yep. Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's now move the conversation to that topic, which is any offer, even when there are multiple offers, there are nuances about it, right? There's going to be someone that's going to throw down cash. It happens, even at the big numbers. There's going to be buyers that have what I call contingencies everywhere.
Yep.
And then there's going to be buyers that go above and beyond asking price And maybe, just maybe, they do some very ambitious things, which is they start to remove contingencies and or throw down appraisal gap addendums. What, in your experience, when you represent a seller, let's go to that side. What, in your experience, when you represent a seller, makes the most sense when you're representing a seller?
I mean, anything the buyer wants to give us is good. If the buyer wants to give up their right to, inspections or all kinds of stuff, as long as it's within, the normal terms of doing business, as a seller, we'll take that, because it's just gonna streamline the deal. It's gonna get it done. So as a seller, you like to see buyers give up stuff. Yeah. So sometimes you can have red flags on things, like if they're giving very little earnest money and giving up all their contingencies. You want to watch out for stuff like that. You want to probably call, if they're using a lender, you want to call their lender and see what's going on with that, where they sit. So, and just do your homework when you're on the seller side.
Okay. So, all right. So let's now flip to the other side. When you're representing buyer, what is your stance then?
Yeah, when I represent buyers, if they tell me they're going to give up their inspection contingency, personally, I tell them they're going to have to find another realtor. Because the inspection contingency is just so important. You really, even for a new construction home, I'm not going to advise my clients to give that up. There's just too many things that could go wrong. At the very minimum, you've got to do your inspection. I actually have a client who bought in Western Springs a couple of years ago. She was in DC area trying to buy a house. And obviously DC market is much more expensive. And with her budget, she was looking, and her realtor out there was saying, oh, you have to drop your, your financing contingency. You have to drop your inspection contingency, and she's going into these houses that aren't very nice in not very nice neighborhoods, dropping her inspection contingency and making full price offers on houses. And I said, you're crazy. Wow. I'm like, come to Chicago for one weekend. Let me show you around what you can get for your budget out here. Right. And she came out, and now she lives in Western Springs. So in a very nice house. Yeah. So you just never drop your inspection contingency. It doesn't make sense. Even if you are desperate for a house, it's just a bad move. Something's going to come up after you're in it, and you're going to be kicking yourself.
Yeah. And there's a reason why the blank contract that you present to your client, whether it's a seller or buyer, I mean, there's a reason why some of that language is in there. It's all about protecting you as a client. But now, having said that, what's your opinion on appraisal gap, contingencies, addendums? How do you navigate that obstacle?
I mean, that's something, if the buyer is comfortable, they find a house that they really love, and we know, I know I'm going to do my homework for the client. So I'm not going to let them make a crazy offer. If there's a lot of competition for a house and they want to make a higher than listing price offer, for what I do, I'll usually have them do an escalation clause, which means that we'll meet whoever else outbids us by a certain amount plus money.
Got it.
And then if they really want it and they have the funds, then I'll tell them, well, there's a chance this might not appraise. Somebody's going to have to make up that gap. Do you want the house bad enough that you're willing to pay 20 grand out of pocket? Right. Are you willing to pay 10 grand out of pocket? Right. So it's kind of, it comes down to the preference of the client. You just have to talk it through and see if they're willing to do that. Yeah. Some situations you can negotiate with the seller too and say, look, we know we're taking a risk offering you this higher amount, and you kind of talk it through. If we have a gap, would you be willing to meet us halfway on that? You kind of talk through these scenarios before they happen, and you're going to be in a better position. So if you get surprised, you're in trouble.
I'm working with a client right now that has exercised an appraisal gap addendum, and that's exactly the outcome that is where we're at, where their broker talked them through the pluses, the minuses, had a very open conversation, my guess, with the seller's broker and the seller. And so the way the addendum is written, it has enough common sense in it. So you're right on.
Yeah. I mean, there's good examples. You know, if you have a family and you have kids and you want to get them in a particular school district, the house may have more value than the bank thinks the house does to you,
Sure.
right?
Right.
So you say, look, it's worth an extra 40,000 for me to get into that school district. This is our dream house. We don't care that we're overpaying a little. That's fine. And then if the bank won't cover it, then you just make up that gap. If the client's comfortable with that and it checks all the tick marks, then fine. And then we got to get through the inspection. So
yeah, very true. Then you gotta move past attorney inspection review, order the appraisal, kind of let that drop and tell the rest of the story. I'm right on there with you. Now, on my side of the business, because of course I'm delivering financing, bank financing, I broker that, et cetera, et cetera. So there are times, right, more times than not, my conversations are around the terms of financing. When you are representing your client, how does it make you feel? Let's start with the seller. When you're representing a seller, how does it make you feel when the buyer client, as you have learned, is almost buying almost like cash? What does that mean to you? How do you have your conversation with your seller?
Yeah, when someone is buying cash typically comes with a discount.
Yes.
Because cash offers the convenience of speed, and it offers the convenience of, hey, we don't have to worry about the appraisal. We don't have to worry about, you know, that mortgage contingency.
Right.
It speeds things up. And if you look at the average sale price, or sorry, the average speed of sale, cash sales are always faster than everything else.
True.
So if you have a seller who wants to get out fast, and if they're listed at 500, let's say, just for an even round number, and somebody comes in at 480 cash, that offer may look better than somebody who with financing is at 5. You know, it just depends on the situation.
Okay.
So yeah, it's really up to the seller's situation. So
okay. And let's say your seller, similar storyboard, your seller is like, no, I really want top dollar. And all of a sudden you've got a buyer offer where you understand from the buyer's lender, this John Doe, that the offer is buying almost like cash. Do you start to open up with your questions like, what does that mean to me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when you start having conversations with the lender. You know, I'm going to give you a call and say, hey, what do you got here? What do you got for me? What are the terms? What's it look like?
Right.
You know, why are we doing it this way? And then it becomes more appealing, obviously.
True. Yeah. The more you understand to communicate to your seller, the better. So having said that, I'll lean in here. I'll share with you what I understand it to be when a buyer may be sourcing financing and buying almost like cash. Jason, it means the buyer in question has committed himself, herself, themselves to go beyond just being pre-approved. They've actually put together 70%, 80% of a loan application where everything's been vetted. It's just subject to the specific property, title, and perhaps appraisal, unless they're waiving that contingency. Does that sound appealing?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Do you think a lot of buyers understand the power in that? On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your opinion?
No.
No?
No, they don't. No. Because I always remind myself, like, we do this every day, right?
Sure.
And this is something that we're familiar with, but this is something that most people only do a few times in their lives, the clients. So even if they've done it 2 times before, maybe it's been years before, they're not going to remember all even the terminology, the jargon. You know, it's, you really want to explain things carefully. This is the biggest purchase that most people make in their entire lives.
True.
And it is scary and exciting and frustrating throughout. And I try to remember that throughout the entire process. A lot of hand holding, you know, making sure that they don't feel stupid for asking a lot of questions, because they have a ton of questions. It's not as simple a process as it is to them as it is to us, right?
Yeah.
We understand it because we do it every day, but the average person does not. So most people's understanding of this stuff is zero. Like very, very minimal, very minimal. Like people ask all the time, for example, like, how are the rates? You know, and they don't even really understand what that means.
I know it. It amazes me. And back to your comment about there's no stupid question. I sometimes jokingly say this to a lot of my clients. That stupid question is the one you didn't ask.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah.
And then I back it up with, so let me help you ask some of those questions that you haven't asked me yet. So we get them all out on the table. So you're right. You're spot on. Our business is, back to our headline, serving buyers and sellers, especially if you're a veteran who served us. And as we're talking, wrapping up this episode, if you happen to be a veteran and you're looking to get to your next chapter, your first home, your next home, your forever home, certainly do this. Scan the QR codes that you now see here to start a conversation with either Jason and or myself, and we will certainly help you get all of those questions answered, all of them, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll answer them more than once too. So,
very true. Very true.
Yeah.
So,
but what you're talking about, the power of that kind of process. I mean, the average buyer doesn't understand it, and it needs to be explained. You know, when I get all these offers presented on a property, you know, I put them all in front of the seller, and I just put it out in very basic, you know, just, I don't even know how to say it, just basic. Explain it like I'm 5, right?
Yeah.
As basic as possible. Here's all the pros and cons of this offer. Here's the pros and cons of this offer. Here's the pros and cons of this offer. What questions do you have about those? And then we just kind of take it from there. So but you got to do the same thing with your buyers too.
Spot on. And as I'm talking to you, again, for all of you who are following us, thank you for your loyalty. Thank you for your commitment following us, our casual conversations. And if what Jason has shared with you today resonates with you, with what your next step is, if what I've discussed with Jason also resonates with you, and you do need financing, right here, right now, scan these QR codes. We are here to serve you. So that's it today, Jason. Because you're mobile, I'm not going to keep you in the car for too long. Today's episode is a wrap here, everyone, until we see each other in the next episode of Serving Veterans Who Served Us. Thank you. Have a good day.